In the diverse community of Winston-Salem, some of our residents have autism, a neurological condition causing a person to have poor or non-existent verbal and nonverbal skills, making it difficult for them to form relationships, and they struggle with abstract concepts. Not knowing the signs of autism make it more difficult for first responders to safely do their job while also protecting citizens. Last December in Greenville, South Carolina, police officers were investigating gunshots in a neighborhood. They came across a young man who refused to answer their questions and walked away from them. The officers chased him and eventually tased the 34-year-old. They didn't know he was autistic and afraid of the police. Founders of the ICANN House want to prevent this kind of incident from happening in Winston-Salem. The nonprofit teaches social skills to youth and adults who have this disorder. That's why now they're teaming up with the City of Winston-Salem, Goodwill Industries, and other autism support groups to launch a community initiative. Part of it includes showing police officers, firefighters, and other emergency professionals how to recognize and engage with people who have autism.
So take advantage of that knowledge.
In February, Dennis DeBott led an intense training session for officers across the triad. According to DeBott, there are different types and severities of autism, so not everyone on the spectrum behaves the same way.
Some individuals will avert eye contact, or they may give you the stare and always look you in the eye, and both are socially inappropriate. Or they may laugh and giggle at inappropriate times. Again, close into your space, try to snip you, or even the less independent person might want to see what you taste like and lick your forehead or something.
He also says people with autism are 7 times more likely to have contact with police officers, firefighters, and EMTs. Sergeant Katrin Giles is with the Winston-Salem Police Department. In 2014 on the south side, she and several officers struggled to help an autistic boy reportedly wandering the street alone at night.
The officers were having a hard time controlling him, and he wanted to run out in the traffic. It was very dangerous and very tense.
Sergeant Giles recalls the boy covering his ears and eyes against sirens and flashing lights. One of her officers, who has an autistic child, told everyone to lower their voices and to allow the boy access to a nearby parking lot.
Once we kind of gave him a little bit of space, he started to calm down, and we were able to talk to him. Luckily for us, he was able to communicate. He was able to speak and say, hey, I was heading to Grandma's house.
In 2014 in North Carolina, 1 in 58 people were diagnosed with autism. A common anxiety trigger for these individuals is physical crowding and overstimulation. 34-year-old Jay Asbury gets around Winston-Salem on a bike. One day, he says a driver chased him. 3 to 4 city police officers quickly responded, and while Asbury says he was glad to see them, they made him feel trapped.
Felt very threatened and felt that I was, I was sitting on the sidewalk and they were all standing up, and so of course I was doing this number and and talking to him, but at the same time it was very worrisome and like what's going to happen next. The one thing that I guess I would want them to do is have one officer talking to me and approaching me. I was sitting down on the sidewalk talking to him. I wasn't being aggressive in any manner.
People with autism need more time to understand what's being asked of them and to then act accordingly. So DeBott recommends
simplify your communications, minimize the sensory environment, lights, sirens, when it's safe to do so, crowds, odors, calm things down.
Meanwhile, 24-year-old Jay Mickish believes sometimes a direct approach is best. After being stopped by Winston-Salem police for not having on his headlights, he told officers he has autism, so they wouldn't misinterpret his stuttering and nervous behavior.
I actually explained to him my disability, and it was a very nice cop. So he said, "Oh, really? We really appreciate that. Thanks for letting me know." Long story short, and he let me go with no problem at all.
Many of the first responders who attended this training believe the skills they've learned will also help them work better with other special needs populations in Winston-Salem. Catherine Mobley, WSTV Digital Media.